at the dinner table. But we're not interested in food. We're talking about talking.
A lot can happen around the dinner table. Gossip, arguments. You might meet the love of your life on a blind dinner date or find out you're a great storyteller. Neil, when you were younger, did you eat with your family around a dinner table?
We did. Eating at the table was an important ritual. It was something we did every day. And quite often, it was the only time we could get together and chat. I think there's something very comforting about eating good food and being with the people you're closest to. And now I do the same with my own family. The kids are more likely to open up, talk more easily about their day or something troubling them while they're eating.
Well, the dinner table is a space that families across the world get together at to not only eat, but chat, and is often the only point in the day or week that the whole family gathers together. In this program, we'll be discussing how people behave at the table, and of course, we'll be learning some useful new vocabulary as well.
But first, I have a question for you, Beth. In 2016, a couple from Germany won the world record for the fastest time to set a dinner table. But how long did it take them? Was it A, 25 seconds, B, 1 minute and 5 seconds, or C, 2 minutes and 5 seconds?
Surely not 25 seconds. I will guess 1 minute, 5 seconds.
Okay, Beth, I'll reveal the answer later in the program. Now, while eating with a group, you might feel that you need to act in a certain way because of the people around you. Philippa Perry, a psychotherapist and author, thinks we should try to be ourselves as much as possible, as she told BBC World Service programme The Food Chain.
In any group, we find a role. And if we're only in one group, if we're only ever with our family, we might think, oh, I'm the funny one. He's the wise one. We might think that's who we are. And then we go to another group and then we find, oh, I'm the wise one. And I think if you feel like you're assigned a role in your family, I just think take that with a little bit of a pinch of salt.
When you spend time with the same group of people, you might start to think of yourself as the funny one or the wise one. When we say the one, we describe a person by using a particular and prominent characteristic they have. If you're very tall, you might be the tall one.
However, Philippa says we should take these labels with a pinch of salt, an idiom meaning you shouldn't believe or do everything you are told or that's expected of you.
Now, over time, interactions at the dinner table have changed. In the past, children were sometimes seated on a different table to adults or told they should be seen and not heard. An old-fashioned phrase emphasizing that children should be quiet and always on their best behavior. Ambrea Meadows Fernandez, a writer and founder of Free Black Motherhood, spoke about older generations' reactions to children asking awkward questions at the dinner table to BBC World Service programme The Food Chain.
So it's a mixed bag. It's overwhelmingly positive, but I also know that it is kind of a bit of a culture shock for them to hear my children ask the questions that they ask, because our children haven't really been raised with that line of demarcation between the adult table and the kid table.
Ambrea says that the older generation's reactions to her children's questions at the table can be a mixed bag. A mixed bag is a situation that can have positive and negative aspects. She also says that it's a culture shock for them, a sense of feeling uncertain because you're in a different environment to usual.
Okay, Beth, I think it's time I revealed the answer to my question. I asked you what the world record is for the fastest time to set a dinner table.
And I said it was 1 minute and 5 seconds.
And that was the right answer. That's not very long, is it? Okay, let's recap the vocabulary we've learned from this program, starting with open up. A phrasal verb meaning speak more easily than usual, particularly about worries or problems.
If someone is the funny one or the wise one, they're labelled by that particular characteristic.
To take something with a pinch of salt means you shouldn't believe everything you're told.
Children should be seen and not heard is an old-fashioned phrase that means children should be quiet and behave well.
A mixed bag means something has both positive and negative aspects.
And finally, a culture shock is an uncertain feeling because I'm Beth.
Shh! Quiet, please. I'm trying to read here, Beth.
Oh, excuse me. I didn't know this was a library.
Well, what exactly is a library? Have you ever thought about that?
Well, somewhere with lots of books, I suppose, where you go to read or study.
A symbol of knowledge and learning, a place to keep warm in the winter, or somewhere to murder victims in a crime novel. Libraries can be all of these things and more.
In this program, we'll be looking into the hidden life of the library, including one of the most famous, the Great Library of Alexandria, founded in ancient Egypt in around 285 BCE. And as usual, we'll be learning some useful new vocabulary and doing it all in a whisper so as not to disturb anyone.
Glad to hear it. But before we get out our library cards, I have a question for you, Beth. Founded in 1973 in central London, the British Library is one of the largest libraries in the world, containing around 200 million books. But which of the following can be found on its shelves? Is it A, the earliest known printing of the Bible, B, the first edition of the Times newspaper from 1788, C, the original manuscripts of the Harry Potter books?
I'll guess it's the first edition of the famous British newspaper, The Times.
OK, Beth, I'll reveal the answer at the end of the programme. Libraries mean different things to different people, so who better to ask than someone who has written the book on it, literally. Professor Andrew Pettigrew is the author of a new book, A Fragile History of the Library. Here he explains what a library means to him on BBC Radio 3 programme Art and Ideas.
Well, in my view, a library is any collection of books which is deliberately put together by its owner or patron. So in the 15th century, a library can be 30 manuscripts painfully put together during the course of a lifetime, or it can be 2 shelves of paperbacks in your home.
Andrew defines a library as any collection of books someone has intentionally built up. This could be as simple as a few paperbacks, cheap books with a cover made of thick paper.
Today, books are available everywhere from supermarkets to train stations, but back in history, that wasn't the case. In earlier centuries, printed books or manuscripts were rare and may have been painfully collected over many years. Andrew uses the adverb painfully or painstakingly to describe something which took a lot of care and effort to do.
But paperback books and private collections are only part of the story. You may not believe it, but libraries are places of power. To find out why, we have to go back in time to the ancient Egyptian port of Alexandria in the 3rd century BCE.
The Great Library of Alexandria held the largest collection of books in the ancient world. Founded in the city built by Alexander the Great, The library's mission was to bring together a copy of every book then in existence. According to history professor Islam Issa, there were two reasons why the Great Library made Alexandria so powerful, as he explained to BBC Radio 3 programme Art and Ideas.
The first is being in a location at the intersection of the continents and bringing a diverse set of people together to live in harmony, or relative harmony, can bring about economic prosperity. And the second is quite simply that knowledge equals power. And so the library is a form of soft power. It's a way of saying that Alexandria is an important centre of knowledge, a regional capital, by being the guardians of knowledge.
Alexandria was the meeting point of different cultures, where different ideas and philosophies were exchanged. This atmosphere encouraged people to live in harmony, peacefully and cooperatively with each other.
But the main reason for the Great Library's importance is that knowledge equals power, a saying meaning that the more someone knows, the more they will be able to control events. Alexandria became the capital of soft power, the use of political and cultural knowledge rather than military power to influence events.
Now, maybe it's time to reveal the answer to your question, Neil.
Sure, I asked you which famous text could be found in the British Library.
I guessed it was the first edition of the Times newspaper. So was I right?
That was the correct answer. In the British Library, you'll find the first copy of the Times, along with the first editions of many famous books. OK, let's recap the vocabulary we've learned in this programme, starting with shh, an exclamation used to ask someone to be quiet.
A paperback is a type of book with a cover made of thick paper and sold relatively cheaply.
Doing something painstakingly or painfully means doing it in a way showing that lots of care and effort has been taken.
Harmony is a situation where people cooperate peacefully with each other.
According to the expression knowledge equals power, the more you know, the more you're able to control events.
And finally, soft power involves using political or cultural means rather than military power to get what you want. Once again, our 6 minutes are up. Goodbye for now.
Goodbye.